we're going to take you live to the House of Commons, where the Home Secretary is giving a statement.
The House will be familiar with much of the detail in relation to this matter, not least as the Home Affairs Select Committee has applied itself to this with its customary forensic focus. But it is important to begin this statement by laying out the facts. On the 8th of October, at a meeting with a number of Chief Constables from across the country, I was informed that West Midlands Police was considering its options to ensure the game could be conducted safely. As the minutes of the meeting show, a ban on fans was one of the options under consideration. Policing decisions such as this are subject to operational independence. Politicians cannot dictate how the police choose to manage risk.
For those listening on GBNews Radio, we are listening to the Home Secretary deliver a statement on the Maccabi Tel Aviv ban row.
I did not because I could not, while a range of options were still under consideration. All options remained on the table until a decision was eventually taken by the Safety Advisory Group on the 16th of October. The decision to ban the travelling fans, taken that day, was clearly of considerable national and even international importance. Maccabi Tel Aviv fans who sought to travel to this country to enjoy a football match were told they could not because the game's safety could not be guaranteed. This came, lest we ever forget, just 2 weeks after the most horrific anti-Semitic terrorist attack this country has ever known. On October the 16th, the day the decision was taken, the Prime Minister and I both voiced our considerable concern, setting out our belief that the game should go ahead with all fans present. The government sought further information from West Midlands Police and offered the resources required to ensure the game could go ahead. A subsequent meeting of the Safety Advisory Group was then arranged on the 24th of October. At this moment, the Chair requested, and I quote, a wholly fresh consideration of the issue, at which point the intelligence provided by West Midlands Police hardened and the recommendation to ban fans was upheld. In the days that followed, it was clear to me that an external review of the decision was required, as well as a review of wider questions around safety advisory groups. On 31st of October, I commissioned a rapid review by His Majesty's Inspector of Constabulary, Fire and Rescue Services, Sir Andy Cook. And on the 27th of November, as the intelligence the force provided was called into doubt, I asked him to look specifically at that question. Today, I have received Sir Andy's interim report and a copy has been placed in the library of the House. Sir Andy's findings are damning. There is no other way to describe them. The force, we now discover, conducted little engagement with the Jewish community and none with the Jewish community in Birmingham before a decision was taken. As Sir Andy himself says, it is no excuse to claim, as the force now does, that there were high holy days during this time that prevented this engagement. Most concerningly, Sir Andy describes an approach taken by West Midlands Police that he characterises as, and I quote, confirmation bias. This means that rather than follow the evidence, the force sought only the evidence to support their desired position, to ban the fans. This saw West Midlands Police speak to Dutch police following a game in which there had been fan violence, while failing to speak to other countries, Greece, Ukraine and Denmark, where Maccabi Tel Aviv had played more recently and more peacefully. The West Midlands Police engagement with the Dutch police is one of the most disquieting elements of Sir Andy's report. The summary, provided as evidence to the Safety Advisory Group ahead of their crucial meeting on the 24th of October, was inaccurate. Claims including the number of police officers deployed, links between fans and the Israeli Defence Forces, the targeting of Muslim communities, the mass tearing down of Palestinian flags, attacks on police officers and on taxi drivers were all either exaggerated or simply untrue. In his report, Sir Andy is clear that the validation of intelligence conducted by the force was a cause of significant concern, that record-keeping within the force was poor, and he was especially concerned about the handling of sensitive information that should never have been shared without redaction. Sir Andy also points to a series of public statements from West Midlands Police that we now know to have been misleading. He shows that the police overstated the threat posed by the Maccabi Tel Aviv fans, while understating the risk that was posed to the Israeli fans if they travelled to the area. Misleading communications also extend to the words of the Chief Constable himself at his appearance in front of the Home Affairs Select Committee, when he claimed that AI tools were not used to prepare intelligence reports, a claim since refuted by one of his own officers who blames incorrect evidence on, and I quote, an AI hallucination. I know better than most that West Midlands police officers do their duty bravely day in and day out. Sir Andy's report does not argue that the entire force is failing. But what is clear from this report is that on an issue of huge significance to the Jewish community in this country and to us all, we have witnessed a failure of leadership that has harmed the reputation and eroded public confidence in West Midlands Police and policing more broadly. Faced by a game of such importance, the Chief Constable of the force, Craig Guilford, should have ensured more professional and thorough work was done. As Sir Andy himself says, the shortcomings detailed in his report are, and I quote, symptomatic of a force not applying the necessary strategic oversight and not paying enough attention to important matters of detail, including at the most senior levels. The ultimate responsibility for the force's failure to discharge its duties on a matter of such national importance rests with the Chief Constable. And it is for that reason that I must declare today that the Chief Constable of West Midlands Police no longer has my confidence. It has been, as I understand it, over 20 years since a Home Secretary last made such a statement. But on the evidence provided by Sir Andy Cook, the Chief Inspector of Policing, that is now the case. Until 2011, the Home Secretary had the authority to dismiss a Chief Constable, a power that was removed by the last Conservative government. Today, it is only police and crime commissioners who hold this power, and so the Chief Constable's future rests with the local police and crime commissioner and not with me. But I am sure that Simon Foster will now follow all due process as he considers that question for himself. I do, however, believe this illustrates that Home Secretaries should, in future, have this power restored to them. When a Chief Constable is responsible for a damaging failure of leadership, the public rightly expect the Home Secretary to act, and I intend to restore their ability to do so. I can announce today that this government will soon reintroduce the Home Secretary's power to dismiss Chief Constables in light of significant or persistent failings, and that this will be part of the government's upcoming white paper on wider police reform, with legislation to follow. I do not expect this power to be used often, but I think it must be available at those rare moments when it is warranted. Madam Deputy Speaker, Sir Andy Cook's report is devastating. It catalogues failures that did not just affect the travelling fans, they let down our entire Jewish community in the West Midlands and across the country. I speak today not just as Home Secretary, but also as a Member of Parliament for a Birmingham constituency. In his report, Sir Andy says he believes the police acted in an attempt to avoid long-term damage to local community relations. If that is the case, what a grossly misguided effort it was. Peaceful, harmonious communities rely on a police service that, above all else, pursues the truth. In a world in which misinformation flows freely and dangerously, the police, in this case, added further misinformation into our public debate, when they could and should have provided the truth that could have allayed fears. In doing so, West Midlands Police did not support community relations. Instead, they inadvertently made things worse. This must serve as a lesson to police forces across the country, a reminder that they are called to their profession to serve truth and the law, to police our streets without fear or favour, and that community trust and cohesion depends upon them doing that above all else. And with that, Madam Deputy Speaker, I commend this statement to the House.
There's nothing more important than keeping your money and your identity safe online. And with so many VPN options available, choosing the right one can be pretty daunting. But this video's sponsor, ExpressVPN, is making the choice easier for GB News viewers. ExpressVPN is offering up to 73% off, plus 4 extra months free. That's top-level security from just £2.49 a month, and you're covered by their 30-day money-back guarantee. So just click the link in this video's description or scan the QR code now. Remember, when you're online, you are often sharing personal data, so hackers can steal your information, your passwords, your photos, and your bank details in just seconds. But ExpressVPN encrypts your connection, making it virtually impossible for hackers to access your personal information. So why choose ExpressVPN? Well, it couldn't be easier to use. With just one click, you are protected. And ExpressVPN uses military-grade AES 256 encryption, which is the same standard trusted by the US government to guard their classified information. With their new tiered plans, you can protect up to 14 devices at once and manage passwords securely. Live chat support is available 24/7, and it typically connects you in under a minute with a real person. Click the link in this video's description or scan the QR code to get up to 73% off ExpressVPN plus 4 extra months free. Start protecting yourself today with ExpressVPN.
Shut the Home Secretary.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. This is a shameful episode. West Midlands Police had evidence that Islamist extremists based in Birmingham planned to attack Maccabi Tel Aviv fans. Let's call that what it is. It is vicious anti-Semitism. And we cannot allow violent Islamists to impose their will on our country. Yet that is exactly what West Midlands Police, through weakness and through fear, allowed to happen. They should instead have confronted the Islamist extremists. In fact, they should have investigated the extremists for inciting racial hatred, as Jonathan Hall KC said only yesterday. But instead, they capitulated to the Islamist mob by banning the Maccabi fans. But it gets worse. The West Midlands Police then tried to hide what they had done. They fabricated a claim that it was the Maccabi fans who were the dangerous ones. They claimed a previous game in Amsterdam had led to violence by the Maccabi fans. This claim was a pack of lies from start to finish. The Mayor of Amsterdam and Dutch police have now confirmed the West Midlands Police simply made the whole thing up. The Chief Constable must be fired. The Home Secretary claimed a moment ago that she now has no powers to dismiss the Chief Constable. But she failed to mention to the House Section 40 of the Police Act 1996, which remains in force today. Under that, she as Home Secretary has the power to direct the Police and Crime Commissioner to do things, including dismissing the Chief Constable where, and I quote from Section 60 subsection 1, any part of the force is failing to act in an effective manner. That test is quite clearly met. Part of the force, the Chief Constable, is indeed failing to act in an effective manner by the Home Secretary's own analysis. If she's unfamiliar with this piece of legislation, I've got a copy of it here. The Home Secretary must today use her Section 40 powers to go through the process to direct the Police and Crime Commissioner Simon Foster to dismiss Craig Guildford. She must stop pretending to have no power and actually act. And now we come to the role of the Home Secretary herself in this scandal. In a briefing to the BBC on the 17th of October, a source close to the Home Secretary, which we all know means her special advisor acting with her authority, said the Home Secretary first knew about the possibility of a ban the previous evening, the 16th of October. We now know that is untrue. From evidence given to the Home Affairs Select Committee last week and by the Home Secretary's own admission just now, we now know Chief Constable Guildford personally briefed the Home Secretary on the 8th of October that it was likely away fans would be banned, and that was the police's recommendation. So will the Home Secretary now apologise for allowing her advisor to give the BBC untrue information on the 17th of October? And the Home Secretary herself must now answer this. She knew on October the 8th that it was likely away fans would be banned over a week before the final decision was taken on October the 16th. Yet it appears, in those critical 8 days, she did nothing to investigate further or to try and stop it from happening. The Chief Constable, in his evidence to the Home Affairs Committee last week, said that when he briefed the Home Secretary on October the 8th about the likelihood of the ban, she merely noted, that was his word, she merely noted what he had said, not asking further questions or showing curiosity in what she was being told. She did not convene personally any meetings attended by her in the following 8 days or take any personal steps to clarify the situation. She expressed concerns and took action only after the decision became public on October the 16th, by when it was too late. She was asleep at the wheel at the critical time. Given the disgraceful events that followed, does the Home Secretary now accept that she was wrong to personally ask no questions? Officials may have asked questions, but she didn't personally ask any between October the 8th and October the 16th. Does she accept it was wrong to stand by and do nothing during those critical 8 days? And by the time she did take action after the 16th, it was too late. And by standing by during those critical 8 days, she allowed the ban to happen and let the Islamists win. Will the Home Secretary apologise to the House for that inexcusable inaction during those 8 critical days? And will she also commit to exercising her Section 40 powers to direct the Police and Crime Commissioner to dismiss the Chief Constable?
Home Secretary.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Let me just first say to the Shadow Home Secretary, I have a long and very personal experience of standing up to extremists in Birmingham, not least in the last general election campaign. I think my track record speaks for itself, and I am a woman who knows of what she speaks. Unlike clearly him, Madam Deputy Speaker, the Shadow Home Secretary appears to be unfamiliar with the law or indeed Sir Andy's findings in his report. So let me remind him of a few things. Firstly, it was the Conservative government that removed the Home Secretary's direct power to remove a Chief Constable. It used to be a power contained within Section 42 of the Police Act 1996. That was repealed by the Conservatives in their 2011 Police and Social Responsibility Act, which explicitly removed the power. And I will quote from the explanatory notes of that Act, and I do believe that the Honourable Member for West Suffolk is very aware of what is in these explanatory notes, as I suspect he drafted them and approved them when he advised the former Home Secretary Baroness May. Those explanatory notes say the Secretary of State does not have power to direct a Police and Crime Commissioner to suspend or remove a Chief Constable. That is the law passed by the previous Conservative government themselves. And as he should well know, if he made himself familiar with how the law is to be interpreted and to be implemented, he would know that Section 40 of the Police Act, which remains in force in the 2011 Act, cannot be read in isolation. When these matters would be litigated before a court would be very aware of the direct powers removed by the repeal of Section 42. You cannot read the two things in isolation, and if he paid any attention to the detail, he would know that, and he would know that the Home Secretary does not have the power he claims that I do. Secondly, Madam Deputy Speaker, I would suggest that he and other honourable members, for their own interest, do actually pay attention to what Sir Andy has written in his report of today. At page 11, he deals with what the Chief Constable has suggested was the reading of the meeting that took place on the 8th of October. Let me just give a bit of context to the House. That is a meeting of police chiefs that I called myself following the attack in Manchester on the 2nd of October. I had already announced that I was going to look at police protest powers, and I had asked the most senior Chief Constables in the land, the National Police Chiefs Council, the College of Policing, and indeed Sir Andy Cook himself to attend a meeting with me. Towards the end of that meeting, we did some horizon scanning of other difficult decisions that were coming up that might have public order consequences, and this was one such matter. It was mentioned briefly by the Chief Constable, and his recollection of that is absolutely untrue. He did not say to me, or indeed anybody else in that room, that West Midlands Police had already made the decision to reduce the allocation of tickets to Maccabi Tel Aviv fans to 0, but that it was ultimately a decision for the SAG when it next met. That is absolutely categorically untrue. And I would say, given the seniority of everybody who was in the room that heard what was in fact said, if this was the case, it would have elicited a reaction, not just from me and my officials, but from many of the other senior policing officials who were present in that room. What was made clear to me is that the ban was a possibility, but it was one of a number of options that were being considered. And as late as the 15th of October, the football policing unit made clear to Home Office officials and the policing minister that all options were still on the table. And the next thing we or anybody else knew about it was when the decision was taken itself on the 16th of October. And so, Madam Deputy Speaker, I think it is important that all members stick to the facts in this matter, as Sir Andy has made clear in his factual findings in his report. There will be those who wish to play politics with this matter, but I'm afraid that does not meet the test of evidence as set out in the report. And I would recommend to the Shadow Home Secretary actually pay some attention to the detail on this matter.
Valerie Vaz.
Madam Deputy Speaker, could the Home Secretary say that she...
Well, we've been listening there to the Home Secretary Shabana Mahmood make a statement declaring she has no confidence in Craig Guilford, the West Midlands Police Chief.
She also talked about reinstating the powers to the Home Secretary so that she can, in fact, in future, dismiss a Chief Constable if needed, a power that was removed by the Conservatives.
Well, with us in the studio is Aubrey Allegretti, the Deputy Political Editor.
Oh, I wish. Still the humble Chief Political Correspondent
at the Times. Aubrey, this is a big moment from the Home Secretary, and yet the Conservatives are saying she hasn't gone as far as she could have done.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, she is effectively saying, you guys opposite me, the Conservative Party, removed the power for me to act. That was done when the Police and Crime Commissioner system was effectively set up, which slightly sort of politicised the policing service and gave ownership to people in various regions, powers over and responsibilities for managing those local police forces. Partly that was to do with sort of allocating resources and deciding what their budget should be spent on. But it also gave those people, the PCCs, the power to hire and fire Chief Constables. Now, the government was already looking at scrapping these PCC roles, and it sounds as though Shabana Mahmood is saying she wants to take back that power as part of this act, and in doing so, she is doing everything she can, verbally, to encourage this person to go, but it seems as though he's digging in.
Well, the strange thing about the government's proposal to scrap the Police and Crime Commissioners is that they're rolling out regional mayors. And I was under the apprehension, perhaps misapprehension, that the powers of the Police and Crime Commissioners would go to the regional mayors, as is the case in London, and I might be right in saying one or two other places as well. This instead is sort of an anti-devolution move, perhaps a last-minute one.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess there will be questions facing the current PCC in the West Midlands who will have the power, and all the attention will now move to whether or not he decides to take this step. But
and he's a Labour politician.
Certainly. But it will also, there is not only one person who is responsible for this. There is the Chief Constable himself. And he will presumably be facing pressure from some people inside the force and lots of politicians as well to go. And the question is, how will he cling on if everybody around him has lost confidence in him?
All right, Aubrey Allegretti, thank you very much.